Welcome to the Canadian Business Quarterly Podcast, where we speak with Canada's most influential industry leaders on the business and economic development issues taking place across the country. You can stay up to date with all of our content, including our publications, newsletters, and podcasts by visiting www.thecbq.ca and clicking on subscribe.
Theo van Wyk is the head of solutions development and cybersecurity at CDW Canada. He leads the technology strategist and solutions development R&D teams that oversee the technical go-to-market strategy and solution alignment between security, cloud, and hybrid IT domains. With more than 20 years of experience in the cybersecurity sector, he is an expert in working with customers to address their IT security and risk challenges. Starting with data risk in mind, he advises and strategically guides customers to develop a balanced security approach, ensuring the recommended security solutions enable their governance, risk, and compliance program while supporting the needs of IT operations. Theo, thanks for joining us again today.
Thank you for having me.
So for those who aren't yet familiar with CDW Canada, do you want to give us an overview of the business?
Absolutely. So CDW Canada is a national IT solutions provider. We were established in 2003, so quite a bit of time that we've been around in the industry here in Canada. We provide a number of technologies. The quickest way I normally explain to people is sort of think about your three areas that you do business. You have your users that you're enabling. You have your data center or storage or area where you're storing your data and serving it up. And around all of that and through all of that, we want to weave security. And so when you think of those three areas, we really cover that end to end to help organizations address all their IT needs.
IT, it's a very wide-ranging sector these days. Could you just explain what services CDW Canada offers, across this space?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we're very fortunate in is that we actually have the ability to provide products across a number of these IT sectors. And so when we're speaking of that, we're referring to things like cybersecurity services. We help with that in IT infrastructure, modern data centers and workspaces, and connectivity. And so that then further spans from a technology perspective into a services perspective. So in addition to supplying the equipment that organizations need today, we also wrap that with services. So we can help with data and assessment services, and we can help configure and set this up, because ultimately you are spending, a lot of your capital and investment in solutions, and we want to make sure that you see the return on that investment.
And today we're here to discuss some of your services that are tailored specifically for small businesses. How about you introduce us to how you're able to assist SMEs first?
Absolutely. So one of the interesting things is CDW actually has a long pedigree of working with the small business. And so there is a lot of awareness in how we operate. And so whether that is supplying everything as a one-stop shop for all your IT needs, and this can include everything from monitors to printers, but it also goes all the way over to servers and hardware and wireless connectivity from an actual supply need. So it becomes that one space where we build trusted relationships with our customers so they can come in and have a conversation, and we can make sure that they get the right cure for their need. And then I said, the other part that's really important for us is having that ability to have a conversation both out of the correct vertical, but the correct customer size that's relevant to you, because every business is unique, and it is important to be able to talk from a services perspective and understand the needs of the smaller business and make sure that we have the professional services to help you, again, get out that investment out of the gear and the equipment that you need, and also to understand your business problems, because we see more and more that what customers want is not just a product anymore. You need a solution. You're solving sort of a business challenge or a change in your organization, and we're really geared to be able to have that conversation and address it for you end to end.
I think often there seems to be sort of a misconception between the needs of large businesses and smaller ones. So how do you see the requirements of IT security differing between large businesses and smaller businesses that we're here to talk about today?
That's a very interesting question. And we've actually seen that change quite a bit in the last 2-3 years. One of the most significant changes that I've seen talking to my customers is just that the topics are starting to become similar. So just because you're a small business doesn't mean you have smaller problems. Like, you're dealing with the same challenges. It's the same type of IT discussions and conversations. And our small and mid-market has actually gone really, really far in maturing their security programs and thinking. And that is really encouraging to us. There are some fundamental differences still, however. I mean, ultimately, typically smaller businesses does not have the same number of people working in IT security. So you have to do more with the resources you have, which means you do have to be more streamlined. There's some pluses too, in that one of the big things is you can actually be more nimble typically. So we see a lot of smaller organizations can pivot quickly and really adopt solutions and different strategies much faster than a larger organization that has to deal with complex change management. And then the other thing that's really important, and we talk a lot about in IT security, it's sort of the 3 phases that we tell our customers to think in, and that's a prepare, defend, respond mentality. So prepare is just thinking through, understanding where's your data and your services, really having a handle on your environment. The respond piece then becomes how do we deploy technology and process to protect that environment, and that's the defend piece. And then the respond piece is really driven towards like, how do I enable that to make sure that it's doing what I need it to do? So the big thing for me here then is in a smaller organization, and this is not universally true because the environments are changing very quickly, but we typically find we can help small organizations get a better understanding more quickly on their environment than maybe in very large, complex deployments.
Fair enough. And so at what point then do you think a smaller business might need to consider the type of external assistance for managed IT that CDW can offer?
So I'd say, at the end of the day, customers have to remember, and it's really important to look at it from a perspective that you are there to solve your own business problem. There's a reason why you started your business and why you're passionate. And it's very rarely that is supplying IT services. So, you definitely have a smaller phase where one person can handle some of the initial requirements of your IT security, but instinctively, you will know when that environment starts growing, escalating, the questions will come up, the complexity starts coming in. And that's really where offloading some of that capability to a managed services provider such as CDW can really be helpful. So it just allows you to keep your eye on the ball for what you're really good at, and allows us to take care of the 24/7 so that you can rest. And so generally for me, that trigger point that I see in a lot of customers is they just realize they need help answering some of the questions or solving what really feels like new or more complex business challenges or business outcomes they want to drive. And the moment that conversation change and customer starts feeling that pressure, that is when it becomes very valuable to reach out to a managed IT provider and help take that load off.
And so how would they do that if there's anyone listening that wants to better understand IT security and how CDW might be able to assist them? How do they contact you?
So the fastest 24/7 route is come straight to our website. There's a lot of information on cdw.ca. We also have cdw.ca/front/security if you want to dive right into more of the security specific items. But as much information as I'd like to share there, the value I think for when you're feeling out any new provider is to talk to the people and see the kind of people you'll be working with. And so from the website, there's a number of ways to get in touch with us, whether that's by phone, email. The links are all supplied there. Don't hesitate, reach out, have a conversation. I think the important thing for a lot of organizations to understand is we love talking to customers about security. So come have that conversation with us. If nothing else, if I feel that through a conversation, somebody learned something and they're better off, that's immediately a win for us already.
And so before we finish up today, then, is there anything else that you might like to add or haven't otherwise had a chance to address?
I always like to wrap it back up with my favorite thing to wrap these conversations up with is sort of a thought around digital citizenship. So, train your users, train yourself. Like these concepts around security are just as applicable in everyday life, and your everyday life security for the digital realm can easily translate back to the organization. That's number one. Like think of yourself as digital citizens and your users from that perspective. Don't forget your peers. Obviously, CDW and other managed service providers and IT companies are out there to help you. But a lot of time, a lot of the quick routes, if you go to there's events, there's gatherings where you can speak to your peers, and they are obviously experiencing the same challenges that you have. So foster that community, build and work together. And you'll see us there contributing as well. And then other than that, prepare, defend, respond. Keep that mantra in mind every day. Work your way through thinking about the possible threats. How am I going to protect it? And who do you want to be there with you when you're working on those solutions?
Very good. Well, Theo, thanks for taking the time out of your day to speak with me again.
Thank you, Jess. Appreciate it.
This has been a production of the Canadian Business Quarterly, a division of Romulus Rising Proprietary Limited. All rights reserved. You can stay up to date with the Canadian Business Quarterly, including our publications, newsletters, and podcasts by visiting www.thecbq.ca and clicking on subscribe.